And I want to talk just very quickly about this Cracker Barrel story because it does sound like it's been another win on the commercial culture wars front. And I just spoke about the rebrand, but coming on the heels of all that Sydney Sweeney business, it does feel like something is changing out there. What's your take?
It is. I think there are instances where corporate boards and executives are getting a backbone to stand up to wokeness. Now, it's hard if the CEO herself is the one who's generating the wokeness. But, I was talking to a friend who served in the first Trump administration who's saying he's a lawyer for a large corporation and saying it's actually okay to be a Republican in corporate America now. And, you see that there's serious financial downside. It's not like an established organization called for a boycott. Eventually, Donald Trump did say that these people should change their logo back. But if you look at this, if you look at the Bud Light controversy with sending a Bud Light to a man who dressed like a woman and having her be part of some promotional something or other that's destroyed that brand, there's real financial consequences to this. And the uprising is spontaneous. It just comes from the people. It's not organizations calling for it.
Yeah, no, exactly. Now, I want to move on to the great topic of the Australian-American alliance. Now, I spoke about this at the start of the show, but I want to ask you about this, whether you've been hearing about this mass confusion surrounding our own Australian Deputy Prime Minister Richard Marles, also the Defence Minister, and his meeting with J.D. Vance and Pete Hegseth this week. To what degree, Christian, is Australia on the radar of the Trump administration? We've got the AUKUS deal, but are you getting any sense that this relationship is getting frosty as a result of some of the Labor government here's actions?
Yeah, a little bit. I think it is because, Australia's greatest asset isn't the percentage of GDP it spends on defense, but it's an image of, frankly, being a happy warrior. Whether that image is correct or not, that's the one Americans tend to have. Someone once commented on one of my videos that you have to remember Australia has fought with the States in every war since World War II, including the dumb ones, which is something that Britain can't say. I don't know if that's always great. But if that image is cultivated, I think that's good, not just in the Defense Department, but across the U.S. government culture. If, on the other hand, Australians, because of their political leaders, start to look like Karens from the UK just in the Southern Hemisphere, then I think that changes. If Australian culture has looked like a bunch of scolds because of a left-wing government. As for the trip for the defense minister, he got to meet with the vice president. That's pretty good. I think the relationship is good in that sense.
Yeah, fair enough. Hey, now let's go to Chicago because Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, potential presidential contender, I might add, so keep an eye on that one, as well as Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, have both called off the president, sending in the National Guard to help the city's crime crisis. Now, remarkably, this is what the mayor, Brandon Johnson, said about sending more criminals to jail.
We cannot incarcerate our way out of violence. We've already tried that, and we've ended up with the largest prison population in the world without solving the problems of crime and violence. The addiction on jails and incarceration in this country, we have moved past that. It is racist, it is immoral, it is unholy, and it is not the way to drive violence down.
But I couldn't believe that CNN let this go to air because apparently some Chicago locals do endorse the move for military intervention.
My first reaction was that this is a good thing. I think that the governor as well as the mayor should be on board with it just so we can get a bit more of security in Chicago the way that we need.
The crime has dropped since 2024. Do you feel like the city feels safer?
No, not at all.
Christian, Chicago's got one of the highest murder rates in the United States, if not the highest. Why would anyone be against lowering the crime rate?
Yeah, it's weird, and of course, they're manipulating the figures, and if the mayor doesn't want to put people in jail, maybe we should just do what Singapore does and cane some lower level prisoners, and then they can go on their way. Just partially joking there. Incarceration works great. Police crackdowns work great. It's what Rudy Giuliani did to make New York safe, to clean it up after the 70s and 80s and decades of decay. And everyone said, oh, if you crack down on crime, it just moves from one area to another. It just wasn't true. Actually, if you crack down on crime, you crack down on crime. And there's, I think one important point here is if Donald Trump can prove, again, what Rudy Giuliani proved in New York, if he can remind voters of that, then this is sort of the last vestige of Democrat power are these cities. There's really no city that's run by a Democrat or by a Republican, maybe the exception of Miami currently. It is a Democrat stronghold, and unlike other Democrat constituencies that Trump has chipped away at, like Hispanics, black men, virtually everyone but Karens, frankly, that if he starts to pull political support from these Democrat machines in the cities, then the Democrats really have nothing left. And just final point, when you go and talk to actual people in these cities, not the politicians or the aging white hippies, liberal white hippies, but actual citizens who have to deal with crime, they're in favor of the crack.
Hey, before I let you go, we got to talk about Gavin Newsom, because everybody's talking about Gavin Newsom now. And Gavin Newsom, well, he's talking about Donald Trump and saying that he's made America a laughingstock. Hear him at the Politico Summit in California just a little while ago.
I've had the privilege of meeting a lot of foreign leaders. I've had a chance.
What's the general? If not putting.
They're laughing behind his back. That did not happen. I'm making this clear.
They're telling.
Do not conflate what I just said with the meeting I had with the Denmark delegation.
No, it wasn't them. Other foreign leaders are laughing.
I've had dozens and dozens. Ambassadors met with him.
What are they saying?
They're laughing behind his back. He's being played everywhere. It's an embarrassment.
I don't know. I don't talk to a lot of world leaders, but what do you think? Are world leaders really laughing behind Trump's back?
I don't know. Maybe some are. I kind of doubt it. That's exactly what they said about Ronald Reagan. Oh, they think this is just a dumb actor who reads lines that his staff give him behind their back. And, then he and Thatcher and others helped end and win the Cold War and restored the United States, restored the West. And with Trump, maybe some of the Europeans still chuckle behind his back. But guess what? Europe is the laughingstock now. They've proved that they can't, that NATO essentially is nothing without the United States. They're all in political crisis. Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump, they're going to outlast all of the political leaders in Europe. If they're laughing, that's fine, but I doubt it. And I don't think Kim Jong-un or Putin or Xi Jinping are laughing the same way they would have if Kamala Harris had been president, or if Gavin Newsom, slick Gavin, with a state that's in fiscal crisis. That's a beautiful state with tons of natural resources that people are moving out of because of his mismanagement and the highest income taxes in this country.
That's a great point. I'm glad you brought up Reagan, because I remember that too. Anyway, thank you so much, Christian Whiton, for your time. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you again soon here on the U.S. Report. Now,